if you're a real estate investor and if you have any experience trying to find deals, you probably already know that it is possible to spend an unbelievable amount of time trying to follow up with leads, take people's phone calls, going back and forth with prospects. I mean, if you don't have some kind of mechanism in place to protect your time, like, you'll end up wasting a ton of it, no questions asked. And when I first got into real estate, I was always told that really the way to find deals is to send out a bunch of mail or maybe put up bandit signs or something like that and then take calls one by one live as people call in. And then once you figure out what a good offer price would be, then you go ahead and send them an offer. And for me, I wanted to find a way to screen a lot of these calls so that I didn't have to touch base with every single person with my own time just so that I could make an offer and then have them turn it down. I mean, given that this is a numbers game and a lot of people are going to say no to us, it's really imperative that before we start spending our own time, we find out we've got a serious seller on the line. And so what I did was I used my online cloud-based phone system to set up a 2-minute long voicemail message that would just screen callers as they responded to my direct mail pieces with my phone number on it. So basically they'd have to listen to a 2-minute long voicemail with me explaining why I sent them the letter, what kind of investor I am, and really qualifying this prospect before they were even allowed to leave me a voicemail. And what this did was, first of all, if somebody wasn't motivated to sell, there's a good chance they're going to hang up and they're not going to leave a message, which is fine with me. If they're not willing to listen to me talk for 2 minutes, that's okay. I don't need to follow up with them. It was also really effective at educating that caller so that I didn't have to regurgitate the exact same information hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times for every single person that called. They could just hear it from my pre-recorded voicemail message so that by the time we ever got on a one-on-one phone call, if that day ever came, they already heard that whole spiel. And I ended up creating a few different versions of this voicemail message because originally I would send out direct mail pieces telling people to call me, leave their information, and then I would call them back and we'd go back and forth. Then I kind of changed up my strategy to say, let's not talk on the phone. Let's have you go to my website and submit your information there. And I still allowed people to leave me a voicemail if they wanted to, but I strongly encouraged them in that message to go to my website instead because that would make the process a lot faster for them and for me. And then eventually I started sending out blind offers and I came up with a special tailored voicemail message to catch those kinds of callers. So I really just had to create a few different versions of this voicemail message, and it really has been pretty effective. I mean, to this day, I still get messages from people who listen to the whole thing, and by the time they leave a voicemail, they're educated about what's going on, they know what the situation is. And I mean, I have no idea how many thousands of hours this has probably saved me, but I know it's been a lot. And all I had to do was use these 3 voicemail messages whenever I'm sending out various kinds of direct mail. So what I wanted to do here in this video is, first of all, show you how these voicemail messages integrate with my cloud-based phone system. And I also wanted to make my exact voicemail scripts available to you if you want to use these. And I've got a link beneath this video where you can check them out. I've also gone so far as to find a couple of professional voiceover artists on Fiverr who I had read through each one of these scripts for me. So I've got a male voice version of it and a female voice version of it. And why did I do this? I did this so that if you want to use these in your own voicemail system, you can do that. Now granted, these professionally recorded versions are a little bit more generic. They're not going to mention any specific websites or phone numbers or names or anything like that, because obviously they're generic. But if you have some kind of phobia of getting on the phone yourself and doing this with your own voice, you can feel free to use these if you want them. And those are also going to be included in this voicemail script package beneath this video. So feel free to check that out too. If you do decide to use these, just be sure to take a couple minutes to read through the script and think about what it's saying and listen to the voicemail message and just make sure you know what you're saying to your prospects, because obviously I want you to be totally aware of what you're telling people before they actually leave you a message. So with that all out of the way, this is how you can take these files and put them to work for you. All right, so as I start diving into this to show you how to use this script or these audio files in order to have a message that goes longer than a minute and gives you a lot of the flexibility in call routing options that you need to make this kind of system work, it's really helpful to have a paid cloud-based phone system. And these do not have to be expensive. In this example, I'm going to show you how it works with Freedom Voice, and it pretty much allows you to automate this whole thing. There are a lot of other ones out there. There's Ring Central, which I've used a lot in the past. There's Phone.com. There's Grasshopper. There's tons of other options. Freedom Voice just happens to be one of the least expensive and most user-friendly ones out there. We do have an affiliate link to Freedom Voice. If you have any interest in using that, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it gives us a very small commission. So I'll have a link to that beneath this video, along with a handful of other options if you'd rather use those. But in any event, if you're using something like Freedom Voice, a lot of these things work the same way. It's just about setting up a couple things. First of all, you want to make it so that when somebody calls your dedicated business phone number, it doesn't ring at all. It just goes straight to voicemail and then allows somebody to leave a message at the end of that voicemail greeting. So in Freedom Voice, to make sure that's set up the right way, you'd want to go up here to Settings and then go over here to Call Forwarding. And if it's set up like this, with this switch toggled on and this one off with no call forwarding things included, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's just going to go directly to voicemail when somebody calls. You also want to make sure you have the right extension selected up here. And then over here in the settings menu, go over here to number routing and just make sure that there are no routing rules in place. In other words, when somebody calls this number, they're going to go straight to whatever this main extension is. And then also one final thing, go up here to settings and then voicemail boxes. And I think in most cases it's going to be set up this way by default, but just make sure that under the main extension that you're having calls go into automatically, make sure that this is set to on so that it actually allows callers to leave a voicemail. If this is off, then it's just going to play the greeting and just cut out and people can't leave a voicemail. And that definitely is not what you want. You want to make sure that thing is on and you can actually get messages from people, because if you're following the process that I go through, that's really what you're telling people to do in the first place, is call you and either follow the directions in your message or at the very least leave your voicemail. So then that's it for that. And then the next step over here is to go up here to settings again and then recordings. And by default, this is the recording that's going to play right after you sign up for Freedom Voice. And this is a pretty similar thing with a lot of other cloud-based phone systems like this, where they'll have this boilerplate message. So for example, this is what Freedom Voice sounds like.
Thank you for calling. If you know the extension of the party you are trying to reach, please enter it now. Otherwise, please remain on the line while your call is transferred.
So that's obviously not that helpful. It doesn't really explain anything to the person calling, doesn't give any context or any instruction on what to do. So like I said, I do have a pre-recorded voicemail message that gets into all the details and specifics of why I'm sending my mail out and what I want that caller to do. And by the way, you can actually download these from RE Tipster if you want. I'm going to have a link to where you can go to download those beneath this video if you happen to be watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this in the RE Tipster Club or on the RE Tipster blog, you should see something directly beneath this video where you can either go ahead and download that for free if you're a member of the RE Tipster Club, or you can pay to download it if you're on the RE Tipster blog. This is one of the few paid products we have on our site. And then you're going to get a zip file, and when you unzip it, you're going to see all these files in there. So this is a few different versions and scripts that you can use, with also a few different pre-recorded audio files with both a female and male voice. So here's one of the female voices here.
Hello, and thanks for calling. If you're hearing this message right now,
So kind of gives you an idea for that. And then here's one of the male voices.
Hello, and thanks for calling. If you're hearing this message right now, you probably just received...
And then, of course, if you want to record this yourself in your own voice, I've got the actual scripts that you can use as well, in case you want to go that route. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is upload this particular message to my Freedom Voice account so that when people call it, that's what they're going to hear instead of this default greeting. So we just have to click on Change Audio and then Load from Audio File, and then choose the file from the computer. And there it is. Just go ahead and click Upload. Just wait for a second while it gets into the system. And all right, there we have it. So we can listen to it right here to see what it sounds like.
Hello, and thanks for calling. If you're hearing this message right now, you...
All right, so there's that. And then we're also going to just give a quick test call to this phone number to make sure it is working correctly. So I'm going to just go ahead and call it right here as we're recording this. We can make sure it's working. And then I'll turn it on speaker here.
Hello, and thanks for calling. If you're hearing this message right now...
All right, so that's coming right out of my iPhone. So there you go. It's really just that simple. Again, if you want to download these audio files and scripts for yourself, if you think this would be useful in your business, you can get that right here on the blog. And if you happen to be watching this from within the RE Tipster Club membership site, say if you happen to be going through the lesson that talks about this, you can download that for free right here. So thanks again for watching. I hope this was really helpful. And whether you decide to use this exact script or come up with your own thing, I hope this at least offered you some new ideas in terms of how to automate some of your incoming calls so that it doesn't consume your life and take up all your time. And actually, if you want a much more detailed overview of Freedom Voice, say if you do want to use this particular service for your business phone system, I've got a separate video showing exactly how to get around this kind of account, where to find all the different features and use it to its full potential. So if you want to use Freedom Voice and learn more about how this particular service works, I'll be sure to include a video at the end of this one pointing you to that. So hopefully that'll be helpful for you as well. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.